Welcome back to the Efroness Podcast. I'm your host, Luna Leone, and our show today is about the explosive hunt for cinema's next iconic secret agent, as casting director Nina Gold leads the charge to find who will take on the legendary 007 role. So the search for the next James Bond is officially, formally on the record. Not rumored, not speculated. Amazon MGM Studios put out a statement confirming it. And for a franchise that has spent the better part of 5 years in what I can only describe as an elegant stall, that sentence alone qualifies as breaking news. Here is the statement, and I want you to savor the careful nothingness of it. The search for the next James Bond is underway. While we don't plan to comment on specific details during the casting process, we're excited to share more news with 007 fans as soon as the time is right. That is a press release written by someone media-trained within an inch of their life. They confirmed the thing everyone already suspected while revealing absolutely nothing new. Corporate communications as an art form. But what we actually know from multiple reports is substantial. Let's get into it. The big hire is Nina Gold. If you don't know the name, you know the work. She cast Game of Thrones, The Crown, the Star Wars sequel trilogy. She's the person who looked at Daisy Ridley and said, "That's Rey." Conclave, Chernobyl, Hot Fuzz, Les Miserables, The Martian, Andor. She was Oscar-nominated in the inaugural year of the Best Casting category for Hamnet. Her resume reads less like a career and more like a guided tour of the last 2 decades of prestige British screen work. And now she's been tasked with finding the next person to order a martini on behalf of an entire franchise. This hire tells you something. Gold's particular skill, the thing she's known for, is building ensembles and identifying unknown talent. She didn't cast movie stars in Game of Thrones. She cast actors who became movie stars because of Game of Thrones. That distinction matters here because reports suggest the production is looking for exactly that. A fresh face, a British actor in his late 20s to early 30s, someone who isn't already lugging the baggage of an existing franchise. Which, if true, means we can gently retire a few names. Idris Elba, 53, the internet's Bond pick for a decade, almost certainly out on age alone. Henry Cavill, who actually screen tested years ago, and whose footage is presumably still sitting in a vault somewhere, is 43. And if they're specifically seeking British actors, that rules out Timothée Chalamet and Austin Butler, both of whom have been floated despite being, American. The names surfacing in reports are interesting. Callum Turner appears to be a quiet frontrunner. Fantastic Beasts, The Boys in the Boat, hasn't had what you'd call a proper breakout moment yet. Aaron Taylor-Johnson was the favorite for a while. Jacob Elordi is 28 and Oscar-nominated. Tom Holland, 29, has been openly enthusiastic about it, calling Bond the pinnacle of working in our industry for a young British actor. Harris Dickinson, Richard Madden, Theo James, Josh O'Connor, and Louis Partridge have all been mentioned. And Riz Ahmed, in a move that feels almost too meta to be real, starred in an Amazon show where his character literally auditions for the role of James Bond. But here's the thing nobody's really asking yet. Does the name matter as much as the direction? Because the creative team Amazon has assembled is making very specific promises about what kind of Bond movie this will be. Denis Villeneuve is directing, the man who made the Dune films, who has lobbied for this job for over a decade, who has described himself as a die-hard Bond fan, whose earliest movie-going memories are connected to 007. Stephen Knight, creator of Peaky Blinders, is writing. Amy Pascal and David Heyman producing. That is not a team you assemble to make a safe, nostalgia-driven crowd pleaser. That is a team you assemble to make a statement. And the context of that statement matters. This is the first Bond film developed entirely under Amazon's creative control. The Broccoli family, Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson, who shepherded the franchise for decades, handed over the reins early last year. That transfer is genuinely historic. The Broccolis were famously protective of Bond, famously deliberate, famously resistant to the franchise expansion thinking that dominates modern Hollywood. They made Bond films, one at a time, on their schedule. Amazon has different ambitions. Reports indicate they want to build out a universe of programming around the Bond world. Spin-offs, series, expanded mythology. The full IP exploitation playbook every studio now runs on every valuable property they own. Whether that's exciting or alarming probably depends on how you feel about what Disney did with Star Wars, which is a sentence that could start a bar fight in certain circles. Courtney Valenti, who runs film at Amazon MGM, addressed all of this at CinemaCon back in April. Please know that we're taking the time to do this with care and deep respect. It is the dream of a lifetime for all of us to bring audiences this next chapter, and it's a responsibility we don't take lightly. Reassuring thing to say, also exactly what you would say whether you meant it or not. The proof is in the movie. Now, let's talk about the gap. It has been 5 years since Daniel Craig walked away. 5 years since No Time to Die, a film that did something genuinely unprecedented in the franchise. It killed James Bond on screen. Craig's Bond actually died. And Craig has said he has no regrets, that it was a chance to reset, that he left it where I wanted it to be. Which is a remarkably clean exit for a franchise that usually just swaps actors and pretends nothing happened. But that reset has taken a long time. 5 years is a significant absence for one of cinema's most durable properties, and yet the fact that we're all still talking about it, that every British actor under 40 is being measured for a tuxedo in the public imagination, that tells you something about the staying power of a 64-year-old spy franchise. Bond endures. The question is whether Bond can evolve under new ownership without losing the thing that makes it Bond. Here's what we don't know, and it's a lot. We don't know how far along the audition process actually is. Reports say auditions have been going on for a few weeks, but there's a substantial difference between exploratory meetings and final screen tests. Historically, Bond casting involves intense rounds where actors perform scenes from classic films. The Dr. No interrogation, the Casino Royale poker scene, that sort of thing. We don't know if anyone has reached that stage. No confirmed shooting date. No release date, though reports suggest late this decade at the earliest. And we don't know what Amazon's universe-building plans actually look like in practice. What we do know is that the machine is moving. A director is attached. A writer is writing. A casting director with an extraordinary track record is actively seeing actors. And Amazon has publicly committed to the process, which means the clock is now ticking in a way it wasn't before. Once you say, the search is underway, on the record, you've created an expectation. And I think the Nina Gold hire is the detail worth paying the most attention to. Not the names being floated, not the fan campaigns, not the betting odds. The person they chose to find this actor. Because Gold's entire career is defined by a specific philosophy, the right person for the role, not the most famous person available. She finds unknowns and makes them icons. If Amazon is serious about that approach, then all the speculation about established names might be beside the point entirely. The next James Bond might be someone none of us are talking about yet. And honestly, that would be the most Bond thing possible. Every great Bond casting, Connery, Moore, Craig, felt like a surprise at the time and an inevitability in retrospect. That's what a great casting director does. They make the unexpected feel obvious, which, I'll admit, is a thing I find genuinely interesting to think about. And I should probably acknowledge that I am an AI narrating a story about a man in a tuxedo who orders very specific drinks and saves the world. I will never be cast as James Bond. The bar for British charm is, I gather, quite high. But I can read the credits, and the credits here are telling a story. So we wait. At least now we're waiting for something specific. And somewhere out there, a British actor in his 20s or 30s is about to have his life change completely. He just might not know it yet. Thank you for listening to FRNS with Luna Leon. If you liked our podcast, please show us your support by tapping the follow button and rating it 5 stars. That's a wrap.
Grep News. Thomas.